So I think it's easy to say that the past couple weeks for people who were really excited for the Nintendo Switch 2, it's been kind of a roller coaster, right? Like, everything gets announced with the console on the second. And it just so happens to be the same day that new tariffs get announced in the United States, and then Nintendo cancels pre-orders in North America, in the United States, and then a couple weeks later they do it for Canada. And then we finally got the announcement, okay, 24th is the day. So I wanted to make a quick video kind of talking about my experience pre-ordering my Nintendo Switch 2, just to kind of get that out there, and so we can kind of get a discussion going on how everybody's pre-order situation was going, because I think it's kind of needless to say that this is probably going to be one of the most sought after consoles in recent memory. At least, like, that's the kind of like feeling that I'm getting looking at what's been going on with pre-orders in the United States and in Canada, as well as the lottery thing that they're doing in Japan, which we'll talk about that eventually. So I got up really early on the 24th because I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to try to get this thing online. My current financial situation, I can't afford to drop the large amount at once. So I wanted to do it in a way to where I could pre-order it, still guarantee myself a console, but I can slowly pay it off over the coming weeks before the console comes out. So I decided to go with GameStop because I know I can't speak for everybody else in the country, but my personal GameStop hasn't really been that bad, Like I've been able to go there, get games pre-ordered. And this actually wasn't the first Nintendo Switch I pre-ordered from GameStop. I actually pre-ordered my Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom edition Nintendo Switch OLED from this GameStop, and I was like, you know what? I trust them. I think I'll be able to get in there, get it, and we'll be good. So I got up on the 24th. I got up early, and I ended up getting over there. I want to say about 8:30ish or so. The GameStop at my local town, it's a decent sized GameStop. I'd say it's about an average size GameStop. But I had called the day beforehand, and the woman on the phone was like, "Yeah, we're getting a lot of people that are calling in to double check. We've had people saying they're going to be coming in at 10 o'clock. Some people are going to be coming in at 9:30. Even have a couple of people saying they're going to be coming in at 9." And I'm like, I'm not going to risk it. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, I just want to get in there. I want to get this damn thing, and I want to make sure I can secure one, because I've talked about it in a couple videos in the past. I want to do some content with the Switch 2 console itself. I want to do like an unboxing. I want to do like a review. I want to do a couple other things with it that I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to do things with this. So I got there. It was about 8:30, and it was me, and I had a buddy of mine, Chris. You guys know him as Tempo. He got there about 7:30 at the GameStop, because for his job he normally wakes up like super early in the morning, so he was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go over there and chill out for a little bit. So we were over there, and no line really started around that time. Like, we had a couple of cars pulling in, and then we had some people going out and checking the door, because on the door they had posted how many units they had available. And I want to say for our store, we had about like 20 units of like the regular Switch 2. And then we had like maybe 44 Switch 2 units. Or like 44 Switch 2 units that had the Mario Kart bundled into it. So it was definitely like there was a lot of stock that they had. And we had seen the picture of it the night before, but I also just wanted to make sure I could just get in there and get my console, because I knew this thing was going to go fast. I had a couple of friends who were getting in for like the online pre-orders, like from Best Buy, Target, Walmart, and just outside looking in, it was just like baffling as hell. It just got okay. All right, so I just looked. We had 20 base units and then 44 pre-order, or we had 20 base units and then we had 44 for the Mario Kart bundle. So it was about 64 Nintendo Switch 2s. But just looking like online and seeing my friends go through it and seeing other people go through it, it was just like how much of this was like on Nintendo's end and how much of it was on the retailers themselves, because Best Buy didn't even start till like maybe half an hour later than what they were scheduled to do. The other retailers kind of had their own problems. I know Target ended up having way too many pre-orders, and then they started canceling people's pre-orders. And again, I gotta think like, okay, was that because of Nintendo or was that because of Target? They let too many people in. But I did have a couple friends that were able to secure them. Chris was able to get one. He was a space ahead in line of me. Obviously, we were about fourth, third. We were near the front of the line because it was about 10:30, I want to say, when people started showing up. But we had one girl who was dropped off, and she just kind of stood right by the door. And I was like, okay, as soon as the second person shows up, I'm getting out of the car. I'm getting in line. So we had a second guy show up, and then I was like, okay, showtime. So I got out. Chris and I got out. We went and got our places in line. Our buddy Keaton showed up a little bit later. He actually took a little bit of time off of his job to come and get Switch 2 pre-ordered. And then just after that, the line just kept stretching and stretching. And where the GameStop in our town is, it's kind of like in a little like outlet square. So you have like the GameStop, but it's technically in a building that has like Maurice's, a Planet Fitness. There's actually another like retro game store that's just a couple units down. But we had the line going all the way down, I want to say almost to the end of the building, just filled with people who were wanting to get Nintendo Switch 2. So I was really glad that we showed up when we did, despite the fact I probably could have waited an hour, maybe even an hour and a half before I arrived at the GameStop. But actually pre-ordering everything wasn't too strenuous. About an hour or so before we were able to go in, they handed us these packets that said like what they were offering. So as far as like Nintendo stuff, they had some of the games, obviously. They had the console bundles. But GameStop was also selling their bundles that featured like a GameStop branded like micro SD card, a carrying case, the big carry around case that like puts everything into it, and that was like bundled with a game and all this stuff. And if you got a few things bundled together, you could get a free screen protector. So I opted for a couple of things. So I was able to get the base Nintendo Switch 2. I pre-ordered a physical copy of Mario Kart. I was thinking about getting the Mario Kart bundle because $80 is kind of a steep price for Mario Kart World. But I'm also a big physical person. I prefer to have games physically because who knows when shit's gonna blow up and when we're not gonna be able to access everything. And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, we get to launch day, and a lot of people are going to be getting onto the servers. There could be problems on Nintendo's end. People could flood the eShop trying to download their Mario Karts or the GameCube Switch Online, or even for people buying other games in general, and something could be wrong with the servers. And I'm just like, I just want to be able to pop this in and start playing Mario Kart. So I opted for a physical copy. So I got the regular Nintendo Switch 2. I got a copy of Mario Kart. I also got a protection plan, about a 2-year protection plan, because it's going to be a launch console. There might be problems with it. I just want to make sure I'm set, especially with the fact that the whole tariff situation in the United States is more than likely not going to be resolved by the time the 90-day limit expires. So the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 could go up significantly. And if something happens to my Switch 2 at anywhere in that time period, there's a strong possibility that if I was to get a replacement console, I'd have to pay out the wazoo, and I really don't want to do that again. I'm already paying enough for the Switch 2. I don't need to do that again. So I opted for a 2-year protection plan. I also got the big carrying case that is GameStop branded. I got I want to say 256 micro SD card. I think double the storage for Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be more than enough. And I think because I bundled all that together, I am going to be getting a free screen protector at launch. What I found really interesting though was I went in the next day and they had the other Nintendo accessories available for pre-order. They didn't have those on pre-order day. So I went in, I was able to get myself a Pro Controller pre-ordered, and I found that kind of surprising because I had seen on Twitter that a bunch of other GameStops were having the Nintendo accessories available for pre-order. And I'm just like, why would you not let your customers know that that stuff is already available for pre-order unless they were trying to just push their stuff? And I wouldn't be surprised. Little known fact about me, I used to work at GameStop before I went to college at Ferris State. That was around late 2018, about the first half of 2019. And there were a few launches that we had to do where my boss was like, hey, we have to push the GameStop branded stuff. That's something from corporate. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they were trying to do. And then I had just heard the horror stories from GameStops on the other side of the country that were forcing people to buy those bundles if they wanted to pre-order a Nintendo Switch 2. And that's just all kind of scummy. I did see that GameStop was launching a investigation into all that, and they're trying to help those people who didn't get a Switch 2 pre-order because of that try to get one. And I don't know if that's just because GameStop's trying to save face, but no, you shouldn't be forcing people to buy your bundles just to get a console that is not even yours, you know? But I think overall, like, getting the pre-order together, it wasn't too bad of an experience, honestly. A few snags here and there, but I was able to make it work. So now, the big thing I gotta focus on is getting this thing paid off, because I got about $200 down on the console right now, and I did sell some of my personal items in order to get some funds together. So, like, I sold my PlayStation Edge controller, I sold my original Nintendo Switch. I still have my Switch OLED, because it's my special edition Switch OLED. I'd be stupid to sell that, especially because GameStop would only be taking $175 for it. I paid $350 for it. No, I'm sorry, I'm not I'm not gonna sell it for that much. And then I sold a couple other things here and there. I am trying to sell my Steam Deck, but I might put that up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. I just want to get rid of it and get some cash to put on that, because I don't want to use up a lot of my money that I got from my tax return, because I have other things that I need to use for that. But overall, pre-ordering wasn't that bad, and this was the first like brand new console pre-order I ever did. I did do a pre-order for the Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Switch, but this was the first time I've done any sort of pre-order for a brand new console, because I remember when the original Nintendo Switch came out, I was still in high school, and I didn't have a job at that point. I didn't have a car, I couldn't go to a job, I didn't have my license. I had my permit, but I just didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of driving or anything like that. So I ended up getting my console a couple weeks later from launch, and I think we went through Amazon and ended up having it shipped over from the United Kingdom. And I think it ended up, instead of being like $300, it ended up being like $430. Because I'm not sure if we ended up getting it from a scalper, or if it was because we were paying the UK price to get it over here or something like that. I don't know. All I know is that I had money saved up that I wanted to use for this console, so that's what I did. Do I regret it? No, I absolutely do not regret it, because I absolutely loved last generation with the Nintendo Switch. So many great games, and I'm really, really excited for what's going to be coming with the Switch 2. But yeah, just this whole pre-order situation, just in general, has been really crazy. I had mentioned it earlier, how in Japan they're doing like this lottery thing, and a couple people are starting to win it. I think Masahiro Sakurai posted on his Twitter that he got in for it. They don't have enough supply to meet the demand over in Japan, which really surprises me. And of course, everything's going nuts over here in the United States. I can't speak for Canada. I can't speak for the European countries. I don't know what's going on over there. Just because I haven't really been seeing a lot of it posted on social media, whether it be Twitter or Blue Sky. I haven't really been seeing anything for the European nations or anything like that. I don't know how hard or easy it is to get over there. I know a couple of us were joking that, like, hey, you know what? If we don't get Switch 2 pre-orders open in America, we'll try like France, because I guess they're doing really well in France and they're at a relatively cheaper price. But just this whole thing with the other retailers, because I touched on it with like Target and Best Buy. My buddy Triforce of Doom was trying to pre-order his Nintendo Switch 2 from Best Buy, and I want to say he was able to get in line, and then he just kept trying to refresh and refresh, and I think he ended up getting kicked from the line, and then he got back in, and then after that it was like it wasn't available. So he's gonna try to go with the email thing that Nintendo's doing, where if you have like a certain amount of hours or something on your Nintendo account, you'll be able to pre-order through them, and they'll send you an email saying like, hey, you can pre-order through us now. I'm not entirely sure how that works. I could be misremembering on that. But another friend of the channel, Warbot from Design Doc, his brother and him were able to pre-order a Nintendo Switch through Best Buy, and they were just on top of it. And I remember Dan was just kind of like, you know, just like, oh, I need this to go through, so we might get the Switch 2 and all this other stuff. And then my buddy Casey, they were able to get their Nintendo Switch 2. They went through Target. And I got really nervous for them because I think it was the day after Target started canceling Switch 2 pre-orders. So I haven't checked in with Casey yet. I need to do that and just kind of double check. It was like, okay, like you still got your Switch 2. They haven't canceled anything yet. So we'll see with that. But yeah, it's just been a really interesting sort of situation, and I'm really curious to see how things are going to play out at launch. Because if there's already this much demand for pre-orders, imagine how much demand there's going to be for when the console actually releases. And I think part of that might also be because people are probably buying up the Switch 2 now in case the prices increase when the tariffs come back. If the tariffs come back, we don't know what situation is going to be going on between the United States and Taiwan, whether those tariffs are going to be figured out. But as of right now, the console and the games are still their normal price. The only thing that's gone up is the accessories. And, you know, people are probably seeing the writing on the wall and being like, okay, let's get this console now before the prices go to shit. Which it's the unfortunate state of the world that we live in nowadays. Everything's just getting way more expensive. But I'm curious to see how you guys have fared in getting pre-orders taken care of for the Nintendo Switch 2. You know, if you want to, you can leave your experiences or your kind of hopes for getting the console down in the comments below. I'd love to listen and hear to some of the stories that you guys got. But thank you guys very much for joining me today. This was kind of a different video I've been wanting to try for a while. I wanted to see what I could do with like a non-scripted, kind of off the top of my head sort of video. So I'm hoping that I can keep doing this sometime in the future. And I'm going to be keeping this kind of content to the second channel. The main channel is still going to be the scripted content and the reviews or like the general like gameplay videos that I would want to do at points in the future. But the non-scripted stuff and maybe even like a kind of roundtable discussion. I do want to do one for the Nintendo Switch at some point in the future, but I just got to sit down and find the right time to do it with the gang. So tune in for all that stuff. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care.